I wasn't supposed to be here. Yet, here I stood, hidden in the shadows of a grand ballroom decorated with golden chandeliers, crystal centerpieces, and the scent of fresh roses drowning the air. A wedding fit for royalty, a celebration of love. His love, but not with me. Ethan Kingston, the man I had once loved so blindly, stood at the altar, looking devastatingly handsome in a tailored black tuxedo, his lips curved in a smile as he awaited his bride. The same lips that had once whispered forever to me. I had dreamt of this moment before, but in my dreams I was the one walking down the aisle, his eyes filled with the kind of devotion that set my soul on fire. Not her. Victoria Harrington. Billionaire heiress. Socialite. The perfect trophy wife. His golden ticket. The betrayal still burned like acid in my veins. Ethan hadn't chosen love. He had chosen wealth, status, power. He had chosen her. And me? I had been discarded like a forgotten promise. A stepping stone on his way to a life of luxury. But today would not be the fairy tale wedding they had planned. Because I wasn't here to watch silently. I was here to ruin him. To make him feel the same gut-wrenching pain I had felt when I discovered the truth. And before this night ended, Ethan Kingston would wish he had never betrayed me. I met Ethan Kingston when I was 22, young, naive, and hopelessly in love with the idea of forever. He was everything I had never known I needed. Charismatic, ambitious, and devastatingly charming. The kind of man who could make a crowded room fade into nothing the moment his eyes found yours. We met in the most cliché yet magical way, one of those right person, wrong time stories. I was a struggling writer, working at a quaint little bookstore downtown, drowning in dreams I couldn't afford. He walked in one evening just as the sky turned to shades of pink and gold, looking like a scene straight out of a romance novel. "Do you have anything that doesn't end in heartbreak?" he had asked, flashing me that infuriatingly cocky smile. I laughed, shaking my head. Happy endings don't sell. That was the first of many conversations. Many late-night coffee dates, stolen kisses under flickering streetlights, whispered promises that made me believe in something greater than reality. Ethan was intoxicating in the way only first love could be. We talked about everything: our childhoods, our fears, our impossible dreams. He made me feel like the center of his universe. For the next 2 years, I gave him everything. My love, my trust, my heart. And he took it all knowing he would never keep it. At first I didn't notice the cracks. Love makes you blind, and I was no exception. The missed calls, the late meetings, the way his fingers tensed whenever I mentioned the future. Then, the excuses started. "I'm just stressed, baby. It's work. You know how it is. I love you. Isn't that enough?" And for a while, it was. Until it wasn't. I should have seen it coming. The warning signs were all there, hidden between his half-truths and forced smiles. But when you love someone, truly love them, you don't look for reasons to walk away. You look for reasons to stay. So, I stayed. Until the night I found the message. One simple text. "Can't wait to finally make it official. Forever starts soon." Read. The sender? Victoria Harrington. My entire world shattered in a second. The man I had given my heart to had never planned to keep it. Ethan had been playing me all along. The night everything changed, I wasn't looking for the truth. I was just looking for him. Ethan had been distant for weeks, always busy, always somewhere else. The man who once called me every night just to hear my voice was now too busy to text back. Excuses piled up: meetings, last-minute business trips, stress. I told myself it was just a phase. Every relationship has its ups and downs, right? But then came the lies. Small at first. Ethan had always been a terrible liar. His voice would tighten just a little. His fingers would tap against his thigh when he was nervous. I ignored it for as long as I could, but the doubt had already planted itself deep inside me, growing like poison. Then, one night, the poison took over. Ethan had left his phone on the coffee table, screen glowing in the dim light of our apartment. I wasn't the kind of girlfriend who snooped. I believed in trust. Until I had no reason to. I only glanced at it. That's all it took. A single message. Can't wait to finally make it official. Forever starts soon. Read. It felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. My hands trembled as I picked up the phone. The sender's name flashed across the screen. Victoria Harrington. I read the message again. And again. My brain refused to process the words. Forever starts soon? The air in my lungs turned razor sharp. My fingers hovered over the screen, my heart hammering in my chest as I scrolled up. There were dozens of messages, sweet nothings, plans for the future, and then I saw it. A picture. Ethan, dressed in a crisp suit, standing next to a stunning woman with golden hair and a smile that screamed perfection. They looked like they had stepped out of a magazine cover. Like a perfect couple. My mind raced, but my body stayed frozen. This wasn't just cheating. This was an engagement. My boyfriend, the man I had loved, trusted, built a life with, was engaged to someone else. I barely made it to the bathroom before I was sick. I clutched the edges of the sink, my breath coming in ragged gasps. My reflection in the mirror was unrecognizable. Eyes wild, lips parted in disbelief. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But the evidence was right there, burning into my memory. Ethan had never planned a future with me. I had been nothing more than a temporary distraction while he secured something bigger, something richer. And now, he was going to marry her. That night, I made a promise to myself. He had taken everything from me. So, on his wedding day, I would take everything from him. I sat in the darkness of my apartment, Ethan's phone still clutched in my shaking hands. The message from Victoria burned into my mind like a scar I'd never be able to erase. Forever starts soon. The words replayed over and over, taunting me. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe there was an explanation. But deep down, I already knew the truth. I had been a fool. How many times had I ignored the warning signs? The late meetings. The business trips that seemed to multiply overnight. The way he had stopped saying, "I love you" first. I wanted to scream. Cry. Destroy something. Instead, I just sat there. My fingers hovered over the screen. Should I text her? Should I confront him? A part of me, a small, fragile part, hoped there was another answer, something that wouldn't shatter my world completely. I scrolled through their messages, each one cutting deeper than the last. I can't wait to finally call you mine. Just a few more weeks, baby. Then we'll have everything. She suspects nothing. I sucked in a sharp breath. She suspects nothing. So, he knew I had no idea. He had been careful, calculated, playing me while building a future with her. My vision blurred with unshed tears, but I refused to let them fall. I wanted to hate him, but the worst part? I still loved him. The Ethan I had known, the man who made me laugh until my ribs ached, who kissed my forehead every morning, who promised me we'd grow old together, was now a stranger. Had it all been a lie? Had I meant anything to him? I needed answers. My mind waged a war. Should I call him? Confront him right now? Or should I wait? Ruin him the way he had ruined me? I gritted my teeth, my hands tightening into fists. No. Confronting him wouldn't be enough. If he thought he could walk away unscathed, if he thought he could use me and throw me aside, he was dead wrong. I wiped my tears away, my heart turning cold. He had chosen her. But I would make sure that by the time I was done, she wouldn't choose him. I had spent the entire night drowning in a storm of emotions, anger, betrayal, heartbreak, and something even darker brewing beneath it all. By the time the sun crept through my window, I had made my decision. I needed to see it for myself. I needed proof that this wasn't some elaborate misunderstanding. So I followed him. Ethan had told me he had meetings all day. Work, as usual. But I knew better now. Dressed in the most unnoticeable outfit I could, managed jeans, a hoodie, my hair tucked under a kapai parked across from his office building, watching. And then, there he was. Ethan walked out of the building, looking every bit the powerful businessman he had worked so hard to become. He wasn't alone. She was with him. Victoria Harrington. I clenched my fists as I watched them slip into a sleek black car together. I followed. They arrived at an exclusive restaurant, the kind where reservations were made months in advance, where deals worth millions were signed over expensive wine. But Ethan wasn't here for business. He was here for her. I stayed hidden, my heart pounding, my fingers gripping my phone so tightly it hurt. They sat in the corner, away from prying eyes. He leaned in, whispering something in her ear, making her laugh. My stomach twisted in disgust. Then, I saw it. Victoria reached into her bag and pulled out a thick envelope. She slid it across the table to Ethan. My breath caught. Ethan picked it up, opened it slightly, and smiled. Something wasn't right. I moved closer, heart hammering, trying to get a better view. And that's when I saw what was inside the envelope. Stacks of cash. What the hell? I pressed myself against the wall, my pulse racing. This wasn't just an affair. This was a transaction. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. Ethan wasn't just marrying Victoria for money. He was already being paid to be with her. I wanted to burst into that restaurant, throw the envelope in his face, and demand answers. But I didn't. Instead, I took out my phone and snapped a picture. If he thought he could get away with this, he was so wrong. This wasn't just about my heartbreak anymore. This was about revenge, and I was just getting started. I stood at the back of the grand ballroom, my heart pounding like a war drum. The chandeliers sparkled, the air thick with the scent of roses and expensive champagne. Guests laughed, clinking their crystal glasses, oblivious to the storm that was about to hit. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of Ethan Kingston's life. His wedding day. But for me, it was payback. Dressed in an elegant black gown fitting for a funeral more than a wedding, I stepped forward, my heels clicking against the polished marble floors. My fingers curled around my phone, my secret weapon tucked safely inside. At the altar, Ethan stood tall in his tuxedo, his hands clasped in front of him, waiting. Victoria was moments away from walking down the aisle, her perfect life moments away from beginning. Not today. A hush fell over the crowd as the music shifted. The doors at the back of the hall opened, revealing Victoria in a breathtaking white gown. Her smile was radiant, her eyes full of love and excitement. My stomach twisted. She had no idea. No idea that the man she was about to vow forever to was a fraud. A liar. A gold digger. I took a slow breath, forcing my heartbeat to steady. This was it. Just as Victoria took her first step down the aisle, I moved. Stop the wedding. The words rang through the hall like a gunshot. Gasps rippled through the guests, heads turning toward me. I felt the weight of 100 stares, but I didn't falter. At the altar, Ethan's face drained of color. His eyes locked onto mine, wild with panic. Good. He should be scared. What is this? Victoria's voice trembled, her hands tightening around her bouquet. I smiled sweet, almost apologetic. I'm so sorry to ruin your big day, Victoria. My voice dripped with faux sympathy as I stepped forward. But there's something you need to know before you say I do. Ethan moved fast. Don't do this, he hissed under his breath, his jaw tight. We can talk about this. I ignored him. Instead, I reached into my clutch, pulled out my phone, and tapped the screen. A video played. Loud. Clear. Ethan and Victoria at the restaurant. The moment she slid that thick envelope of cash across the table. The moment Ethan accepted it. Whispers erupted through the room. Victoria's father, one of the richest men in the country, rose from his seat, his face dark with rage. What is the meaning of this? He demanded. Victoria turned to Ethan, her expression a mixture of horror and confusion. What is she talking about? Ethan stammered. Baby, she paid him. I cut in smoothly, my eyes never leaving Victoria. Not just with this envelope, but for months. Your fiancé has been taking payments to be with you. Victoria's bouquet slipped from her hands. No, she whispered, shaking her head. That's not true. Tell me that's not true. Ethan turned to me, fury flashing across his face. You have no idea what you're talking about. I raised a brow. Oh? Then why don't we let everyone hear it from you? I hit play again. This time, his voice filled the ballroom. Just a few more weeks, baby. Then, we'll have everything. She suspects nothing. Marrying you is the easiest paycheck I've ever made. Gasps. Shouts. Disbelief. Victoria staggered backward as if she had been slapped. Ethan lunged toward me, grabbing my wrist. You crazy... I said, yanking free. Careful, Ethan. You wouldn't want to make a scene at your own wedding. The room was a scene. Victoria's father stormed forward, his face thunderous. Is this true? His voice was lethal. Ethan tried to reach for Victoria, desperation leaking into his features. Baby, you know I love you. This is all fake. She's lying. Victoria, shaking, stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. You told me I was the love of your life, she whispered, her voice hollow. Ethan swallowed hard. You are... but I was just a paycheck? Silence. Victoria turned sharply to her father. Call security. Panic finally flickered in Ethan's eyes. No, wait, we can fix the CS. Ow. Victoria's voice was ice-cold, her tear-filled eyes now burning with fury. 2 large security guards appeared at her father's command, grabbing Ethan by the arms. Victoria, please. I watched as he struggled, but the moment was short-lived. Because in the end, there was nothing left for him to say. As Ethan was dragged out of his own wedding, his eyes locked onto mine one last time. I smiled. Revenge had never tasted sweeter. The ballroom was in chaos. Guests whispered behind their hands, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others reveling in the drama unfolding before them. The fairy tale wedding had turned into a public execution, and I was the one who swung the axe. Ethan was gone, dragged out of his own wedding like the con man he was. I exhaled slowly, the weight on my chest lifting, yet a strange emptiness remained. This wasn't just revenge. It was the end of something I once thought was real. Victoria stood frozen at the altar, the shattered remains of her dream wedding crumbling around her. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. She turned toward me, her blue eyes filled with a storm of emotions. You knew all along? She asked, voice tight. I met her gaze. Not all along. But when I found out, I had to stop it. Her jaw clenched, lips trembling. Why? Why not just let him go? I hesitated. Because he didn't just betray her. He betrayed me too. But saying that out loud felt pathetic. Instead, I squared my shoulders. Because he didn't deserve you. And you didn't deserve to be lied to. Victoria let out a hollow laugh, shaking her head. I should hate you, you know. I nodded. I know. A long silence stretched between us before she spoke again, her voice softer now. But I don't. She looked away, her father approaching her protectively. She had a family, wealth, support. She would be fine. Me? I had no idea what came next. With one last glance at the wreckage I left behind, I turned and walked away. Outside, the night air was cool against my burning skin. I leaned against the stone railing of the hotel's grand entrance, my body finally catching up to the adrenaline crash. I should have felt triumphant. I had done what I set out to do. I exposed Ethan for the liar he was, ruined his carefully constructed plan, and walked away knowing he got exactly what he deserved. And yet the ache in my chest refused to leave. I had loved him once. Not the Ethan who got dragged out by security. Not the man who saw love as a transaction. But the man I thought he was. And that man? He never really existed. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the messages one last time before deleting them. The evidence, the screenshots, the recordings, I didn't need them anymore. He was over. The sound of footsteps made me look up. Victoria stood there, her arms crossed over her chest. I should have seen it, she murmured. The signs, the red flags. I gave her a small, knowing smile. Love makes us blind. And he knew exactly how to use that against us. She let out a slow breath. What are you going to do now? I blinked at her. The question hit harder than I expected. For so long, my world had revolved around him, his lies, his betrayal, my need for revenge. Now that it was done, I had no idea who I was anymore. I guess I'll figure it out, I said with a small shrug. Victoria studied me for a long moment before pulling something from her wrist. A delicate, diamond-encrusted bracelet. My mom gave this to me before she passed, she said, her voice quieter now. She always told me that when something breaks you, you have two choices: you can let it define you, or you can let it set you free. She held it out. I stared at the shimmering piece of jewelry, confused. I can't. Yes, you can. She cut in. Take it. You helped me escape something terrible tonight. The least I can do is remind you that you don't have to carry that weight forever. I hesitated before reaching for it, my fingers grazing the cool diamonds. It was such a small gesture. And yet, in that moment, it felt like the first real thing I'd held in a long time. Weeks passed. Ethan's downfall was glorious. Victoria's father made sure no one in their elite social circles would touch him with a 10-foot pole. His name was dragged through the media, his career crumbled, and any chance of wealth vanished overnight. Last I heard, he had fled the city, tail between his legs. Good riddance. As for me, I started over. It wasn't easy, but I was free. I moved to a new apartment, cut off the people who were only tied to me because of Ethan, and for the first time in years I focused on myself. One evening, as I stood on my balcony watching the sunset, my phone buzzed. A message from Victoria. So, I have an idea. It involves wine, a beach, and two women who refuse to let a man define them. Interested? A slow smile spread across my lips. For the first time in a long time, I felt light. I had lost love, but I had gained something else. Strength, closure, a future that was finally mine, and maybe, just maybe, a friend.